All right. Class is in session. So tell me, am I all out of whack or is something wrong with me if I demand to have an acceptable level of service in a retail capacity, in, I don't know, in cuisine and food? I am requiring that the person waiting on me in this establishment is going to provide an acceptable level of service. And I can't blame it entirely on the pandemic, although it's gotten a lot worse in my opinion, but I am not seeing that, and I refuse to be conditioned to believe that I don't deserve service. Now, am I the only moron walking around still demanding to be waited on appropriately when I give my hard-earned money to an establishment?
Define acceptable. You know that's going to be the first question.
The attorney in comes out right away.
Because, I mean, acceptable is different to every person, right? Your level of acceptable service may be different than someone else's. So you got to look at it from that. Like, let's set the baseline. What is acceptable?
Oh, that's a pretty broad question.
Well, I think food service.
Like a normal attitude. Somebody that can actually adjust, like actually come up and have a conversation with you.
Okay.
And not sit there and be like, just mundane and be like, what do you want? Did you ring? You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
What he said.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I would still ask another question to that. I would say, define normal. Because, again, every establishment's different, right? Do you expect the same level of service from McDonald's that you do at a
Have any of you been out somewhere where you cognitively recognized recently that you were getting bad service, and did you take a moment and were you disgruntled? Or have you gotten past it now? Maybe you conditioned yourself to expect to be shit on all day by retail or by a commercial exchange of some kind. I mean, have you had it? Oh, this is gonna be good.
I have. I recently just had someone serving me, and they totally screwed up my order. Right?
Okay. Is this a restaurant?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So
fantastic.
When I brought it up that the order was screwed up, they kind of looked at me with this exhausted look on their face, right? And that they were frustrated and they were mad, and that maybe I was the one that actually messed up the order to begin with. You know, like I asked for the wrong thing.
Define the quality of restaurant.
Not a great quality restaurant, but I'm a fitness guy. So I'm hiding here, man. I'm like behind the curtain. I can't come out with where I was at.
Okay.
No, I'll say it. I was at Wendy's, but I get my salad and chili from there. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I like the salads and the chili.
Right on. Right on. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So now I'm throwing Wendy's under the bus.
Fuck them.
Yeah.
yeah, they'll be all right.
But the look that he gave me was this exhausted look. And it was kind of this, I've been getting beat up a lot look, right?
Yeah.
And you almost kind of feel bad for them. And I actually, it's going to sound weird, but I reflected a little bit on this, right?
Okay.
So I'll come at it from a little bit of a different angle. I think if you look at some companies, like, and I don't want to take this in a really crazy direction, but like at the heart of a lot of the companies today is the customer experience. So Amazon, Uber, Airbnb, these companies, like, they pride themselves on improving the customer experience.
They say they do.
They say they do, right? So they create these, objectives like Prime, 2-day delivery, right, across the board. As much as we can, let's improve the customer experience.
He knows all about Prime. Yeah. Amazon junkie, you.
So I think that at some point, we've gotten so used to such a high level of service that I feel like there's actually a loss of gratitude to some extent on the customer side.
Yeah.
Which starts to degrade the service, especially in local businesses on our side, right?
Okay.
Because it's almost like you're doing it for people that are not thankful for it. And there's going to be cases where there are people that are thankful. We expect good service, like you're saying, right? You walk in, you're a nice person,
I
you
tip
tip
well.
really well, you have a really good conversation. But I think in general, our population is just demanding excellent service across the board, and the level of expectation has gotten so high that it's almost like an expectation versus like a gratitude. You're not thankful for the great service, you expect the great service, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that to everyone. I think there's a lot of people that are still very grateful for the service. But I see this in my gym, right? Like, we do everything we can to make it the most exceptional experience possible, and we still have customers that they're just they want more and more and more and more, no matter what you do, right? So I think there's two sides of the coin. In the service example that I gave at Wendy's, I was frustrated driving away because I didn't feel like I deserved to like be treated like that. He was kind of upset and mad, like I messed up the order. But at the same time, I think he's probably, you know, they're understaffed. He's in a tough situation, and people are probably complaining to him 24/7. So I don't know. I think it's I think there's different sides of the table. I do think call centers should not exist. Like calling in the things like Comcast, companies like that. Like I don't. If you are that big of a company where you have that many people that are needing to call into your company for customer service, I don't think that they should be put through 10,000 routing. Right. I think that level of customer service has really gone away. But at the local level, for the most part, I think that if I experience bad service, it's coming from the angle of the person's probably just really frustrated and beat up because I think we're losing a sense of gratitude. I don't know. I just throw that out
It's
there.
that, and also like there's not that much like people that don't want to work anymore. They just want to sit on their asses and
Yes, there's definitely
pick their belly buttons.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then when you do get people that actually want to work, you get assholes out there that complain about every little thing because it wasn't to their right order, or they're over fat and they're like, well, I didn't get that extra pickle on my sandwich, and they snap out on him, and then he has to deal with that all day.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's another part of it.
Yeah.
Another part is basically, like I said, nobody wants to work. Nobody wants to take the responsibility for a job anymore. So everybody thinks they have to be basically like, I don't know, pampered to a certain T. Like even the workers.
Is that a COVID phenomenon, or was
Yes.
that kind of a trend before
Yes.
before COVID?
No. Before COVID, there was actually people that wanted to work. Now, since they got that money...
You think that's what it was?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Okay.
Because as soon as they got that money, you get government money for sitting on your ass?
But okay. So help me understand that. First off, I'm going to go to you first. What's your thoughts on this?
Well, I think we got to dissect it a little bit. So
Yes.
if you're, so you're talking about
We're making
restaurants.
some generalities,
Let's start with
right?
restaurants,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
I've worked in restaurants. It's never the server's fault. It's always the cooks. I mean, when people's orders are wrong, I remember dealing with that. So I will never treat a server poorly because they're not the one cooking the food. Like they do. I mean, and if they mess up, and people are human.
100%.
So I don't have this unreasonable level of expectation when it comes to that. 'Cause I've been in the industry. I worked in the industry when I was in college.
Okay.
I think, and I'll give you an example, what just happened right when I was sitting in here. People have this need for speed. They want everything right now. If you don't respond right now, you don't do something right now, they get pissed off. So it's like they have this level. Instance, got a message on Facebook while we were sitting here. Random guy that must have been friend requested me months ago. He said, "Hey, thank you for connecting with me on Facebook. I'm a retired Army veteran." Okay, that's what he said. I opened the message. You started talking to me. Within a minute, he wrote, "You don't have to be rude." And I wrote, I said, "Excuse me?" And he said, "You ignored my message." And I was about to say, "It's been 1 minute." And his response was, "I'm going to show you respect and kindness." And he just like blocked the message. Like it was a 2-minute transaction.
That's irrational.
But that's what we're seeing in the marketplace.
No,
we're seeing people act irrationally because they have this. To your point, Amazon Prime, Uber, it created a speed in the market, right? So you have this speed that now these big companies can play to. So people have this expectation of it's got to be quick, and if you don't respond or you don't do something as fast as I expect it to be, it's shitty service. And it's not. It's just the way, if I go to a restaurant and order a meal, I can't expect it to be done in 7 minutes. It takes longer to cook food.
Of course.
But people get pissed off if their meal is not to their table within 7 to 10 minutes. If you look at statistics when it comes to the restaurant industry, people start to get frustrated if their food isn't there by 10 minutes. It takes longer to cook food. But people have this expectation of speed. It's not a valid expectation. I think that's what's causing problems in the marketplace.
Okay. So that's more symptomatic of what the web has done in general.
I think it's more symptomatic what big companies have done when they've created this. I can get like to Prime. I can order something and have it tomorrow or the next day, right? I can go on Instacart and have groceries delivered to me in an hour. So there are these certain, things that technology has done to increase the speed of service.
Okay.
It doesn't apply across the board, but people think it does.
Interesting.
People go to business and they think, okay, well, like I'm a lawyer, right? It takes a certain amount of time to do certain things. If I'm putting together a transaction, right? Helping someone buy or sell a company, it takes time. So I have to set that expectation with my clients. Sometimes they come in and say, well, this should be done in a week. I'm like, no, it's not how it works. It just doesn't work that way. It takes time. And I think because of all these companies and technology has created this in the marketplace, people take that expectation across the board to all services. And it's irrational, in my opinion.
Yeah. I second that, because people will even actually, like he said, on Facebook Messenger, like Facebook me for something I build for them. They're like, well, how much is it going to cost? I'm like, what kind of design you want? What do you want this? What do you want?
Right.
They're like, just give me a quote. I'm like, no, I have to come out and measure it, look at it, what kind of design you want for it, what are you looking for, what color, what's going on? You're like, just give me a quote.
Yeah.
Okay, $5,000. How about that? But it's only a 5-foot section railing. I don't care. Like, you said a quote. There you go. $5,000.
That just seems so irrational to me, though.
It is, but people are like that now.
Consumers have become irrational. I'll give you another example that happened this week in the office. A client that, one of my attorneys was dealing with basically said, hey, I need this done, and if it takes more than 15 minutes, that's just irrational. So they decided they are the lawyer, and they know how long it should take to do something. And they said, if it's going to take more than 15 minutes, that's just ridiculous or irrational. Meanwhile, it was substantial changes to a company governance document that required us to review the document and make multiple changes and cross-references. It would probably take about an hour and a half of our time. And this guy was like, it shouldn't take more than 15 minutes. If it does, that's irrational.
He's saying his ask.
His ask should only take 15 minutes, and if it takes longer than that, it's irrational. So we basically said, go fuck off. Like, go find someone else to do it then, because it's not. I mean, if you want it done right, it takes time. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yep.
But people have this. They think they know everything. And I hate to be a dick, but it's like, this was a situation. It's like, are you fucking kidding me?
Nope, you're spot on.
Like, Matt came into my office and told me this. I'm like, you fucking kidding me? I'm like, tell a dude to fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, that's bullshit. You can't, but that happens across the board in businesses.
Yep.
Like, I'm a business lawyer, so my clients are facing this. And everybody has this expectation of they know more than the service provider. I'm like, do you have the JD after your name or do I? Like, like, stay in your fucking lane. Like, it's just, but it's created this expectation of service that is unreasonable right now.
Okay.
Across the board, in my opinion.
And I 100% agree with him, is because I'm having the same things. Even if when, like, engineers or whomever brings me a document and says, okay, hey, build this. Okay. Build what? What do you want me to build? Here's your plans. But the plans are so vague nowadays. They're not detailed like they used to be. And if you go to ask a question about something or somebody or something about it, they wig out on you.
Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Probably say you're incompetent. You can't do the job.
Exactly. But the funny thing is this, like he said, with like the bigger corporations, the smaller guys like me, they'll tear us fucking a hole. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like you're a small business also.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter. If, like, Wendy's or Taco Bell fuck up on order, that's okay. But if we fuck up...
That's interesting.
Exactly right.
But if we fuck up, we're fucking assholes.
That's interesting.
We're the... You know what I mean? The shit on your shoes.
Okay.
They don't give us any breaks.
Well, isn't that fascinating? Because the bigger companies are the ones that actually created this this expectation of faster service.
Yeah.
Yes.
But they get the pass.
Oh, they get the pass all the time. And it's bullshit.
See...
And if I rush, sorry.
No, go ahead.
And if I do rush, like, you know what I mean, a job, whatever, and I tell them, like, hey, I did this, you know what I mean, on the time base that you want it, there's going to be a little bit of flaws here and there, and then they start picking it apart. Mm-hmm. They look at every little aspect of it, and it's like,
now have we always done that, or is that?
No,
do you think that there's a more heightened sense of, like, does what he just described, picking apart and examining, almost to the point where they're expecting to get screwed, and they're offended. They're looking to be offended by your flaw, so they're going to find that flaw, so then they can express their offendedness.
Yeah,
that's what it sounds like to me.
They're all geared up.
Maybe it's a
Everybody's
stretch.
like
I don't know,
this.
but it seems like it's almost like we're conditioned to express our offense on everything, and we're egreged in some way. And when they don't find it because you did a good job, they almost maybe have to go find it or create it.
Yeah, people aren't trusting as much as they used to be.
That's the way.
It's really what it boils down to. They're looking for something to point out, a flaw. They're looking for. People have become problem finders, not problem solvers. Yeah, they will find a problem in anything, but they have no idea how to solve it, and they won't give you credit if you do solve it. And back to the whole Wendy's example, right? Like, yeah, they've created the problem, but they've also created a competitive advantage. They've made it so, yeah, we do it fast. We do it cheap, and if we fuck up, we don't give a shit because you're still going to come to us because we do it the fastest and we do it the cheapest. Like, people aren't going to not go to Wendy's because they fuck up. You're going to go back and get chili in the salad again, right? That's what I'm saying. But they know that, and but when you think about it, they know that if you look at these fast food restaurants, they can just cycle through employees, and they don't really give a shit because it's a commodity.
Yeah, it's a commodity.
It's not a service anymore. Yeah. It's a pure commodity because people are going to come because Wendy's or McDonald's are talking about it's cheap food, it's fast and convenient. That's it.
Okay, so good. I'm sorry.
No.
I was just going to say, like, let me qualify when I say I'm dissatisfied with service. It's generally never about the speed for me. Mm-hmm. I'm the kind of guy that's I'll wait excessively in a drive-through lane if something's going on. I don't care. Where I get upset with service is when I'm treated rudely, or I'm treated discourteous. There's just discourtesy, or I even get agitated when there's not even a friendly smile. Hey, how you doing? Or I exude that and I get nothing back. Yeah. Now maybe I'm the grumpy old man that's just looking for something. That's possible too. But I feel like the niceties of doing business that I remember vividly, they're kind of eroding. The niceties involved with commerce are eroding. And that's why I love the practice I have, because being a realtor requires a relationship, and it's a multi-step process. So it's my responsibility to set client expectations of how the process will go. Yeah. So I do my best to explain this is how it works. Yeah. And these things require time, and here's the time frame, and here's why it requires time, right? So I don't have a lot of that kind of stuff in my practice, but I would if I had not set the client up day one on expectations. Yeah. That just seems that's not even a skill set. That's just smart business. Like,
yeah, I mean, that's what we do. Like with our clients, we're a relationship based business. I don't look at our clients as transactions. They're relationships. So it's we set expectations. I make sure all of our clients have my cell phone number. They can call me anytime. It's in the example I gave, that that's one out of 200 clients that things like that happen. But it's so I look at the level of service we provide. We're very cognizant of that, right? Yeah. I think in the marketplace in general, what you're talking about, I notice really bad service and really good service. Everything in between, I really don't pay attention to. It's like it's service. I look at it like that way. So I know when I have really shitty service from someone,
right?
Which honestly, I don't really experience that. Maybe it's just the places I choose to go to. Yeah, because maybe I gravitate towards places I know that have good service, but I notice when there's really, really good service. Like I can always, pick that out of a lineup. Bad service, same thing. But most places I go to, like I can't tell you in the past 6 months that I went to a place that I had really shitty service. Maybe she's got I frequent different places.
You said you just had it.
Wendy's. I think so. Just the kind of something that keeps popping into my head is that I don't know if this has ever happened to you. Have you guys ever held a door open for someone? That's
Yeah.
So I think what's going on a lot in the service industry is that there's this like I'm a person that's really always happy. I greet people with a smile, you know, and then so like the first person I open the door for them, I'm like, hey, how you doing? Yeah, come on in, and they walk right by me. I'm like, oh, they must have thought I was like supposed to do this, right? And then the second person, I'm still happy. Come on in, and like they walk right by, and then after a while, it starts to bring me down, right, from an emotional perspective. I start to like. Now I'm kind of like drained from people just kind of walking on me, taking advantage. And I think that that's what we see a little bit in the service industry with the people that they do want to be there. They are hard workers, but they're like you alluded to, half the time people have a problem, they're taking the problem up with the person that cannot solve it.
Exactly.
Right?
That's exactly right.
Like,
Yes, exactly.
You're taking your problem out on the person that, it's like, dealing with Comcast, the person on the phone is not going to fix your Comcast service.
Right. Exactly right. Yep.
So they're dealing with that. But I think that there's also the other side of the coin where people are just like, we're just in a different era. I don't think there's a level of respect from a lot of the people that are working in these jobs, right? They grew up in very easy times. They're working these jobs, and they just like, they don't care. They don't have a reason to give exceptional service to someone, right? And it's usually for money, right? Like if you're going to make more money or it's going to help your career or whatever, you give phenomenal service. But a lot of these people are not working in positions that they're not going to, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, they can be amazing to people or they could be shitty to people, and they're still going to make the $10 an hour. It doesn't matter. And
I agree, but let's look at this even deeper, right? I think it comes down to how the customers treat the people too in those establishments. So if you go to a Wendy's, people in Wendy's are used to getting shit on by customers, right? Go to a Nordstrom's. Right. I've never had bad. Only had exceptional service at Nordstrom's because the type of customers that go there, right? So you have to look at the customer base as well. I think, in my understanding of the marketplace, you will find shittier service in lower quality establishments with a lower quality clientele. Not saying that Wendy's is lower quality, but I'm just saying like
the
demographic, right?
The client demographic.
I've never been to a store in the Ross Park Mall, like a Nordstrom's, where I've had nothing but exceptional service by every single person in that place. Like, so you got to look at it that way. These people are also used to getting treated shitty by customers. Yeah. If you've been in restaurants and you've heard people talk like shit to the servers. Yeah, and that's appalling to me too. And and yes, but that's the world. That's the world these days. I know it, but it just does. It just rubs so deeply against my sensibilities when I see. And this goes back decades when I see servers of any capacity being shit on by a quote unquote customer. I literally want to jump to the next table and just tear a new asshole out of it. But take what he just said. He said you open the door for a bunch of people, and as they don't appreciate it, you're just like, well, fuck it. I'm over this. Same thing happens to servers. You keep trying. You may start the day giving exceptional service, but if you have 10 asshole customers in a row, at the end of the day, you're just like, fuck it. I'm not going to give good service anymore because what's the fucking matter? So where are we going with it? Like, if I refuse to accept that, I've refused to accept that is it okay if somebody treats me like shit when I'm giving them money? I'm sorry. Maybe that is an antiquated mindset, but it bothers the shit out of me when I'm not. I don't want to lay a golden rug in front of me to walk on. I just smile and rose petals. How many times do I do this, which is a horrible thing to do, but this is what I do. When I say thank you to someone, especially in a drive-through line, and they don't respond, I have this guttural response that I actually will say. If I say thank you and they don't respond back, I'll actually say, you're welcome, and I will go on. Everybody hates when I do that. My wife hates that. It's so condescending. Well, it's better than me mother effing them. But it's almost like I know when I say thank you, the odds of being told you're welcome, which is just a plain nicety. That's all it is. It's a communicative thing. Sure. It's just not happening.
Well, the reason why is because people are brought up that way. Let's just stem from that. Let's just go. Okay. I mean, if you want to go like talk about servicing and blah, 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 it all stems from upbringing. You know what I mean? And how you were brought up. And the only way you could figure that out is look in the mirror. You represent that person that you're looking at, or your kids. They're representing that mirror of you. 100%. What you're doing. 100%. Yeah. They're going to do the same fucking thing. So now, all those kids that were earlier or younger, you know what I mean, was brought up, I don't know, early 90s, 2000s, or well, crackheads, I don't know. Bunch of people were just weird. There's no more thank you. There's no more welcome. There's no more yes sir. There's no more
like manners.
None. And I bring up my kids the way back in the 80s, like I tell them to.
Of course.
You had to say yes sir, no ma'am. Yep. You had to be polite, say thank you. And the other day, I almost like this guy come up to us. Where were we? Texas Roadhouse, and they come up and said, "You have the most polite kids in the world."
That's awesome.
I was like. Okay.
You want them for a couple hours?
Yeah. You can have them. Me and my wife are going to go out and have a couple drinks. But yeah, it was really cool that somebody actually said that. I was like, all right, cool, thank you. And they're like, yeah. I was like, that's what it stems from. Seriously, if people don't know how to say thank you and please and be polite, that just gives another reflection on to other people when they're just doing it all day.
Yeah.
And you have that one fat bastard in there.
But again,
eating gravy and potatoes, and I'd just be like,
but I still think it comes down to where you're going, right? You said the drive-through. Have you been to a nice restaurant where someone didn't say you're welcome?
No, not really.
And here's the thing. No. Do you keep going back to the drive-through?
Well, it's a commodity. It's
that's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I'm trying to. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, I think your point is right, but I think we have to look at it from a different perspective. Like, where you're going, the drive, they don't give a fuck.
You make complete sense. Yeah. But I think it's a sad reflection on society that we have to quantify the dollar amount we're spending to buy ourselves a little manners.
Yeah. Well, think about then the opening the door. So I do what you do.
Mm-hmm.
If I have a family, especially if they have kids with them and they walk by without saying thank you, one, you're lucky we're not fighting. Your kids just save you.
Yeah.
Because they're with you. No, I'm not that bad. But I will say things like, your mom's welcome to the kid. Or
your mom's welcome.
And then tomorrow I'll be like, oh, wait.
You can go all kinds of directions with that. All kinds of directions.
I'll bring it up to them that, you just walked right by with your kids as I'm holding it. Like, I'm supposed to be standing here holding it. I think there's just a level of respect and manners. But as you were talking, I actually remembered I walked into a Mad Mex. My buddy and I would sit at the bar, and we're going to get some food, right? And she had came over, said some stuff to us, and walked away. I looked at my friend. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with her? He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, she's so mean. Like, that was not really nice at all. Because I'm a person that likes to like people. I'm like,
we're cut from the
very
same cloth,
personable.
Right, I would feel that way too.
Yeah, like I was asking a couple questions about beers, and like she was just like she wanted nothing to do with it. And he's like, wow, you're really sensitive, man. And I'm like, I'm not like that.
Just ask a question.
She's like, she was being so mean to us. She was like very cut and dry, like that. And I kind of felt like there was no reason. Now, she might be having a bad day because she continuously gets beat up upon, but to me, I'm not the one that caused that, right? So I still, if I'm treating you with a certain level of respect, I expect it in back, right? And it goes both ways, even from a from a gym perspective. I don't want to make it sound, our members are amazing. 99.9% of our members are amazing. They walk in, they say hi, they say thank you.
They are pretty polite. I came up to test out that machine, and they couldn't have been any nicer to me, and they didn't know me from Adam.
Yeah, they're very nice. But there's the one person that will literally ruin my entire day. And I have to keep thinking about, everyone else appreciates what we're doing. Everyone else is happy about the music we're playing, the workouts that were designed, like everyone else is loving it, but this one person can really bring me down. Just with the comments and the negativity and walk right by me and not say hi. I'm like just out there swinging my hand and saying hi to everyone. They walk right by. They leave. They walk right by. And I think at the end of the day, one, people just lost respect. They don't have the manners anymore. But I really think a lot of people just have shitty lives, and they walk around projecting their shit on other people, like you guys are talking about. They're picking out everything that they can, and there's people that are just like that. And
is it because we expect to get screwed over? I'm not saying we actually do, but is there a baked in mechanism where we're expecting to get screwed at the drive-through?
I don't know. So I used to be like that. I would let things bother me, and I remember it's like I don't know if it's an internet meme or a story that's on the internet. It was a couple years ago I heard. It talks about like this guy's on the subway and his kids, he's just sitting there, his kids are acting a fool on the fucking subway. And he's just sitting there not doing anything. And then people are getting pissed off, and this woman says to him, like, what the fuck? Why don't you control your kids? He's like, I'm sorry, my wife just died. We're on the way to the hospital. I don't know what to do. And that hit me really deep. Bet. It's like, I don't know what goes on in people's lives. So I don't let that shit bother me anymore. Because I don't know. They could be having a shitty day. They could have a 100%. Shitty life. Like, I'm thankful for where I am in life. I'm thankful for the blessings I have. I don't let other people's negativity bother me anymore. That hearing that story, and just I can't remember if it was like a video I watched or something I read, but it was just like, wow, like you don't know what's going on.
No, we don't. No, we don't. No, and I think that's a great. If for no other reason, I think that's a beneficial story that you just shared, because that provides a mechanism for you to change your thought process to quote unquote negativity.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it as like I will always be kind and decent.
100%.
Whether they treat me back, that's on them, not me.
Okay, so this is where it gets weird for me, because and again, I feel bad saying this again because Rocco's probably heard this a million times, but in my story, it was when I got my first real job and got away from my parents and tried to figure out the world, late 80s, right, where things were different. Jobs were important and they were hard to get. I realized if I'm really nice to people, overly nice, I mean sickeningly sweet nice, good things would happen for me.
Yeah.
And it was so easy. It's so easy to be nice.
Yeah.
I figured this out without any instruction. My parents are nice people. They're a little bit like dry though. Like I never got like a gregarious amount of like kindness thrown on me as a kid. I had to kind of figure it out.
Yeah.
It wasn't hard. I'm not real bright. I just figured it out. If you treat people great, better things happen for you. I could make more money. I could get a promotion just for being a nice guy in the office, right? Why is that not prevalent? We're talking about people not respecting their jobs. They're going to get their money no matter what they do. And why is the attitude from what I just described of what an attitude that I shared with probably hundreds of thousands of people in my age back then, figured it out. Why is that not prevalent now?
Our generation fucked it up. We told our kids everybody's special. You're special. It's not how it works. Like it's like these kids that are coming into the workforce now just think they're entitled to shit because they were told their whole life you're special. It's like that's not how the world works. You have to prove you're special. You have to be a decent human being. And they were raised by, I mean, and it's our generation's fault, I believe, because
I get that.
And I think that's why that's an absence in today's society, because everybody's a winner, everybody gets a trophy, you're going to get out in the world.
So they're walking around disappointed right now.
Yes,
emotionally disappointed.
But they don't know how to deal with it because they weren't given the skills as a kid how to deal with that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and the people like us, they look at us like we're assholes. Because we're, stepping up to the plate and actually doing something. Right. Actually making it, something for ourselves. So they get jealous and greedy and be like, well, if he does that with his business, he's like that type of person, maybe I should pick at him. And it's do this, and this to make him feel like shitty because I feel shitty.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They're projecting their poor self-esteem on you.
Yeah,
they're trying to.
They're
trying to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I actually, I have this concept called personal brand that when I was in consulting, so before the gym days, I was in corporate America, I was in consulting, right? And I was the least likely person to ever go into a big four consulting firm like PricewaterhouseCoopers, right? On paper, I didn't compare talent-wise to any of the kids across the nation. I had a couple things in my favor. One, I was willing to work harder than everyone else. I had a desire. But two, I was highly personable and people liked me, right? And so people wanted to pour into me. So I had the opportunity to work with so many amazing mentors and teachers. And they poured into me because I was so nice to them.
It's a magic formula.
Yeah. So it is. It is. So I'm going to emphasize what you said earlier in that I don't think people realize how valuable of a skill personality and likability is.
Yeah.
I actually had a vice president one time. I was in his office and he said, you know what I really like about you, Chad? Every morning when I walk by you actually look at me and say hi.
Yeah.
He's like, everyone walks by me around here. Like they don't even pick up their head and say hi to me.
Yeah.
And over the years, as I grew in the organization and I had people under me, I had a lady come to me and she sent me a 20-page resume to prove how good she was at project management. And I'm like, that's awesome. No one likes you. You walk into it, and I didn't mean it in a bad way, but like if you can go into a room where you have 10 different groups of stakeholders arguing and figure out how to get them all on the same page and move the ball forward, that's a skill that is very hard to replace, right? And the way you do that is you have everyone like you. They got to like working with you. They got to like being around you. They might disagree with you. But the only way to ever move the ball forward is if people really like and respect you, right?
Yeah.
And I think to your point, that is a lost skill. I've had so many people say it's not fair. I have more skills. And I'm like, you're talking about technical skills.
Sure.
You're a better programmer.
Yeah.
But guess what? you're hard to be around.
Yeah.
You're hard to have a meeting with.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, you're not really helping anyone else around
Yeah.
you. Right. So I think that there's a loss in the personality.
That's social media. Social media and technology is what fucking did that. And when you think about it, like they don't know how to communicate face to face. Like my skill set is being able to communicate with people. I can go into a room and read a room and know how to navigate the room very well. And when I look for people that I bring into my organization, like I hire for personality. I'll teach you how to be a fucking awesome lawyer. I'll teach you how to be the best there is, but I can't teach you a personality. And if you don't have that personality and that ability to understand people and the human dynamics between people, you're dead in the water these days. But if you have that skill set, it is so valuable in the marketplace. But I think what has happened is these, technology, they don't have to have face-to-face communication anymore. They can do it all through text or Snapchat or Facebook or Instagram or WhatsApp, and that's a different way of communicating. If you can walk into a room and shake somebody's hand, look them in the eye, and kind of understand how to mirror a person's body language, how to read the nonverbals, you're head and shoulders above your competition.
Isn't it fascinating? We call that a skill. Do you know how insulting to my intelligence that is? And you guys, nothing personal with you guys, but I'm saying when we talk about that as a skill,
it is now.
This is how I was raised to look other adults in the eyes. And if I needed something like a job, look them in the eye, shake their hand firmly and ask them, and I will work hard and then go bust my ass. Yeah. It was an expectation of becoming an adult.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean,
absolutely.
A skill, I did realize it was an advantage because I was more friendly and happy at work than other folks, and things were happening for me. But to call that a skill, it wasn't a skill. That was just kind of like a default mechanism to survive.
Yeah, because everybody's brain farting now.
Now, I'm not saying it isn't anymore, but that's kind of, I never looked at it as a skill. But being nice to someone is a skill. How far has the humankind come? Where being nice to people, strangers, is a skill.
It is.
Well, yeah. So I don't think. I think the skill is understanding communication. That's the skill. Like being nice is just something you should do. Being kind is something you should do. There are very kind people and nice people that can't fucking communicate for shit.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I think it's being kind and nice is not the skill set I'm talking about. The skill set I'm talking about is being able to walk into a room, know who the decision maker is, know how to talk to this person in three different ways.
Yes.
With the same niceness and kindness and respect and decency, but knowing how to speak to people differently. That's the skill set.
But in today's society, that's next level. I would make the argument today that the kindness part of it is probably 70% of your success at the lower levels. Your success.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
But you can't even do that. You're not showing up for that.
Yeah.
The 30% is the remedial crap you're probably doing at this entry level job. The 70% of the success of that job is going to be nice and kind and cheerful and all that stuff, right?
Well, nobody has
and that's not a skill. That's a human reaction.
Yeah.
But we're calling it a skill.
Dude, I did a TED Talk on kindness. I mean, that's the problem right there. The fact that I was able to do a TED Talk on kindness tells you it's a fucking problem. Like, that's it. The fact that I was able to do that talk and that it was that much needed in the marketplace, and so many people came up to me afterwards.
No doubt.
It shows that that's not a skill anymore.
Oh my God! It's just, how could that be? Have we dumbed down society so far that being kind is now a valuable skill in the marketplace for an employee or a young entrepreneur?
But I also think kindness was looked down on for a while in corporate America. Corporate America was very cutthroat. Like in my profession, like lawyers, right? If you're looked at as a kind and nice lawyer, they think you're a pushover. Like, I'll fuck anybody up in a courtroom or in a negotiation. I could be the kindest person there is.
I never experienced that. Because I'm not in that profession.
I see it in corporate America.
I believe you. I believe you. And I never aspired to the higher levels either. So I was always entry or the next level.
Yeah.
But in there, kindness got me
absolutely
a pretty good life.
Yeah.
Just being nice to people.
Yep. That's exactly.
Corporate training. So it's been decades since I was in that arena and had received some. And, please don't tell me that you believe that in part of corporate training today is just teaching people how to be polite and have manners. Because if it is, I'm going to puke. And I'm probably guessing, I wouldn't be surprised if that has been recognized that that's missing in business today. I would not be surprised if basic manners training might be baked into corporate training, interpersonal, whether it's a management, what they used to call those management outside companies that would come in and like they would not reorganize the company structurally, but they would management consultants, customer service consultants, things like that. I bet you manners training is probably now part of the curriculum. I would be willing to bet that.
I bet you any money it's more like a softening.
Yeah.
Not a
soft skills.
Yeah, because back in the day, like I used to do sales. I did a lot of shit before I went into welding. But in sales and stuff like that, they wanted you to be aggressive. Yeah. They wanted you to grab the horns and take control and be like, hey, this is your pitch. This is what I'm going to tell you. This is what you're going to give to the person.
Right.
This is how you're going to do it.
What'd you sell, cars?
And among other things. So with that said, you had to be aggressive. Now that I see like what's going on now, everything has to be soft and eloquent, and you have to be very, very extra kind. And you know what I mean? You can't be bold or you can't be rash. You have to soften up.
That's probably another part of the discussion.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
We're offending people with
giggity.
Yeah.
With toxic behavior.
Yeah,
because aggressiveness can be misconstrued.
That's what I'm saying. Though. Like that's what I'm saying because people back in the day, you had to be kind of aggressive, correct? Mm-hmm. You had to be like, okay, this is what you're going to buy, and this is how you're going to buy it. Believe in what I'm saying. This is what I'm going to do for you.
That's hardcore sales.
Nowadays, it's more like, so, would you like this furry puppy and this nice little dog and you know what I mean? Like it's like a little bit like that.
Well, I think nowadays too, when it comes to sales, people are more informed. Yeah. Right, 20 years ago, if I go and buy a car, like I didn't have the information, so I was relying on the car salesman to sell me. Now I go in to buy a car, I know exactly what I'm going to pay for that car before I walk in there. So I know exactly what I want. I know what I'm willing to pay for, and there's no haggling. It's like, here's what I want. Here's what I'm willing to pay. If you can do this, cool. If not, I'll just go somewhere else.
Yep.
So it's like there's a soft art to it. So I think in corporate, there's a lot of soft skills training. So it's not manners training.
What's a soft skill?
Like emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Interpersonal communications. Like it's not teaching you product knowledge. It's teaching you how to interact with people.
Yep.
It's how do you having that emotion, like part of my Vistage group, right? This guy came in, best speaker I've ever heard in my entire life. He came in and talked 4 hours about emotional intelligence. And it was the best 4 hours I've ever sat through. And this dude spoke with no notes, nothing. Had us in tears 2 or 3 times during this whole day. It was unbelievable. But he talks a lot about and just how to relate to people. And just the little things he did. Like when he came in, he wouldn't say, "How are you?" He'd say, "Hey, Eric, great shirt today." And it connected him with people. And it's just the way, and those are the soft skills they're teaching now, which I think are very important. And he was going through.
What's a positive?
Well, right. That's what I'm saying. So it's not about being nice and kind. They're just teaching people how to, because technology has widened that gap of interpersonal relationships, right? People don't know how to do it. They have to retrain people, especially now after the pandemic. Retrain people how to interact with one another face to face in communication off of technology, and that's building those soft skills back. That's a lot of what's being trained these days.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm actually funny enough, I'm going to be an opening day speaker at a big tech conference, a technical innovation conference down in Pittsburgh, and I'm making some bold promises to them. And one of the promises is, if you follow some of these things that I'm talking about, you're going to drastically increase your performance in the workplace to become like a peak performer, right? So when I think of peak performance, I don't think of just the technical expertise, right? I think of all of the value you bring to the table as a person. And so I have this matrix that I kind of use, and I used to talk to my teams about it all the time because it really helped demonstrate where they were at and what I was looking for out of them. But it was kind of, I call it the skills versus expandability. So your skills go this way, your expandability goes this way, your desire to learn, grow, expand, right? So people that are in the bottom quadrant, they have no skills and they have no desire, right? You fire those people. You don't want them. The people all the way out to the right, they have a lot of desire. They want to learn. They want to be fed. They want to be given, and they have a personality. They're fun to work with. Those people, you give them everything you can. You pour your cup into them. Then there's the other way, which is highly skilled people that have no desire. They don't want to be liked. They don't want to have a personality. They want to project all their bullshit. Those are problem makers in any organization. They're highly skilled, so you feel like you have to keep hold on to them. on their technical side, but they really weigh down the organization. So you try to motivate and inspire them as much as possible. But that top right quadrant are the peak performers. That mixture of highly skilled technical skills, right? But that constant desire to I don't know enough. I need more mentors. I need to grow more. I have the personality. I respect everybody that sits across me, whether or not I agree with them, right? Treating them like human beings. Finding ways to connect with them, like, hey, I like your shirt. Making people feel good every time they're around. Those people, unfortunately, are just rare people. And I'm glad they're trying to figure out ways to train on these things, but I always equate it to, I was at a baseball tryout one time, and the guy was throwing from the outfield. Bobby Bracken throws like 90-some mile an hour, and the coach out there was like, throw it over the backstop. I'm like, why is he telling him to throw it over the backstop, And he's like, because they can teach you accuracy. They can't teach you arm strength. So if he throws that ball out of the parking lot, he's going to show his arm strength, right? And I think that a lot of these things are just so hard to train on if you're not doing it when they're young, as they're being raised, teaching people to be kind.
You almost kind of reverse engineering their habits.
Sorry, that was a long speech, but
it's interesting.
They got it out there.
But no, I look at that matrix the same way, and I always say it's like your willingness to grow versus the knowledge you have,
right?
And it's like I always look at
exactly.
If you have a lot of knowledge, but like as I've gotten deeper in my career as a lawyer, the more I learn, the more I know I don't know shit. So it's like when I was a young lawyer, I thought I knew everything. Came out of law school, I passed the bar exam, I passed 2 bar exams. I know everything. As I've gotten more into my career and developed more skills, I've learned, holy shit, there's a lot more I don't know. So I have that constant desire to learn. Those are the people I'm trying to find in my organization, right? They've got to have the desire to grow. Like I say, you got to have growth. You have to be growth minded.
I'll take that person any day of the week. I don't care if they have skills yet,
because they'll learn the skills. They'll learn the skills. But if they have the desire to grow, like that's who I want. But the people that have the desire to grow and have a certain baseline of skills, like they're the ones you turn into the fucking top performers. Absolutely, I completely agree with that.
And again, I feel bad saying this stuff because it seems like the old guy looking at the younger generation shaking his head, and that damn rock and roll kid, rock and roll music.
Drive through.
Yeah, I don't want to be that way, but I guess it's not even an anger thing with me. I feel a little sad. Like when I see like our human interaction being
gold.
Well, even like when I look at, it's so good to connect with him because when we were doing business together years ago, we communicated more regularly, but life, the convenience of technology, things pull relationships apart. And I feel at times that we're losing people. We're losing our knowledge of people and our understanding of people, really, because we're not engaged with them. And I just feel like the experience that we have with each other today is so foreign from the before times, which was before the internet. And I've had a kind of unique view of this because I was in business on the web when it was early, and I've watched this crazy thing happen in society that we're just not caring enough about how the other person is receiving our interaction. It's so impersonal now, and I think that's being translated when they're forced to do face-to-face communication. We're actually talking to each other like we would on our device. And so the niceties don't exist.
No, wait, sorry, emojis.
Yeah,
there's emojis now.
And that's a great point. Like emojis are a poor excuse for human expression.
Because
real human expression.
Well, the funny thing is, you say like human emotion. I am the walking, talking, hyper person.
You don't say.
And the funny thing is, like, I have to, like, when I go into customers' homes and I talk to them, or even I go to talk to like engineers or whatever, I have to explain myself. Personally. Right before I shake their hands, I'm like, just to let you know, I have ADHD. I'm very hyper. I also have this, and this going on. So if you can't really stand me, I understand. I have to go. You know what I mean? Because that's who I am. I'm very creative in my head. I can think out things very quickly and stuff like that. I talk with my hands, like just like my kids. But they say, "Oh, it's old Italian. You're just no."
But isn't that ridiculous? You have to do that. See, to me, I view him as just being like one of my hyper friends. Like I would do business with him in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And in the before times, he would not have to qualify that.
Yeah. I have
right.
to.
No, you're right. Yeah.
Because some people are like, don't know how to handle me now because I'm very personal. I like to like give a good handshake. The handshakes you get nowadays is that little.
Doesn't that drive you crazy?
That little cup.
Does that drive you crazy?
I'm worried about how I shook your hand coming in.
It was good. You were good.
First thing I thought about
good.
it. Oh, man.
You're good.
I hope I squeezed his hand.
No, you definitely did. You definitely did.
You know what I mean? Yeah,
it was not the little cup.
No, it wasn't the cup or that little the little tooth finger thing. No, like a handshake is a handshake because in that person, you know, you can connect with them.
Yeah,
you can be that you can be all right, but when you get that little like soft, like cold, clammy handshake.
30 years ago, that wigged me out.
Yo, that gives me a red flag right there and then. As soon as I get that cold, like that, I'm like, I'm not doing business with you.
Those types of people are skeptical. I believe, like they're very people that shake your hand. That they're skeptical. They just have a skepticism of life. So I'm very weary of those types of people. They won't shake your hand the full way because like they're not sure of you yet. So they have the skepticism.
Maybe they're
to
uncertain of themselves.
No,
well, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, obviously, I mean that they're projecting that. I believe.
I think you're right.
But I think those are the types of people you kind of got to watch out for. I feel like.
And those are the same people that like you go to shake their hands, but they won't even look you in the eye. Like you give them a handshake, and they'll like. I was always brought up when I'm an Italian. You know what I mean? They tell you, look person in the eye, shake them, and talk to them. When they don't do that to you, and they look down on the ground or look that way or this way or right before you even do anything.
That's a lesson. Also, half my family is Italian in this town, and I was taught a very similar lesson. And if I didn't look my dad or my uncles in the eye, they would hold the handshake and squeeze harder until I looked at them.
Yes, sir.
Now, it sounds mean-spirited if you say that today. You know, how dare an adult did that to a child. No, it was a valuable lesson.
It's called respect.
Exactly, it was respect.
That's
what it was.
But I find the thing, Rocco, that I know we talked about this on prior podcasts about looking in the eye and eye contact. Here's the sad part, though, for me. I started paying attention months ago after we had our first conversation on that subject. For a couple of weeks, I really dialed into that. I was amazed and saddened by how many people in business can't do it. They don't want to do it. They run from eye contact. They literally run, emotionally run from eye contact. Some successful people. I mean, I was amazed. Like, I felt bad because it almost, in some instances, felt fearful, like emotionally fearful, emotionally dismissive by others. And I realized how far we have come on the head-to-head human interaction in business. It is breathtaking how different it is now to me.
Yeah, I mean, I
the lack of eye contact.
Yeah, I think, you know, I don't experience it as much because I think the people I deal with are, you know, very, you know, engaged in the conversation. You know, I'm a lawyer. I'm their lawyer, so they're very engaged. But I do know what you mean. I've been in, you know, when I've spoken at events, I've seen people that. And it's their own issues they're dealing with, I believe. I think really their own insecurities, their own.
It's kind of a window to the soul, isn't it? In a way.
Yeah, I mean, the eyes and the face are a window to the soul. You can read a person very quickly by just looking at how they interact.
They don't give you that eye contact. There's some. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think all of these things are a silver lining because, like, if the world was good at all of these things, it would actually be kind of intimidating, right? If if the majority of the world were likable and personable and hardworking and had desire and looked you in the eye, you know, like I almost look at it as like an opportunity,
like a competitive advantage.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is. It's a huge competitive advantage. Like, you know, if someone were to come to me and they're like in high school or they're going into college and they say like, what should I be really thinking about? I'm like, be curious, be open-minded. Be highly personable, show people respect, and you'll take over the world.
Yeah,
go anywhere you want to do whatever.
Say that all the time.
Do whatever do whatever you want to do. And I think people drastically underestimate those skills. That like walking in somewhere, shaking someone's hand, looking them in the eyes, having a direct connection with them, a meaningful connection, having meaningful relationships. That's drastically. You know, when I was in high school and college, I wanted to be an actor, but I thought there's no way I could never move out to Hollywood and make it amongst all. Now I'm like, I might have made it because people might have actually liked me. Right. You know, like I might have actually been able to build meaningful relationships out there and build a network. And people underestimate your that's why I call it your personal brand, because when I was in consulting, we were the product being sold, right? Yeah. So, you know, we weren't selling shoes and all that. We were the product that was being sold. So everyone was a customer. And I look at that kind of now. Obviously, I want to have friends and have meaningful relationships, but I kind of think of it as everyone's like a customer, and I want to treat them like they're a customer, right? And having that mentality has gone so far for me, and just opening up doors, because you build the network, you build friendships, you build relationships. And I think that's actually the really unfortunate thing that people are losing, because to have a rewarding life, you want to be a person that people like being around. You want to be a person that makes other people happy and that you get lit up in the same way that you light them up, right? Yeah. And I think that the real unfortunate, you know, conversation that we're having is that, yes, it's frustrating to people like us to come across all of these people that are, you know, kind of like I call them the life suckers, because they suck the life out of you. But it's unfortunate for them, because at the end of the day, they're going to be on their deathbed someday, and they're going to regret the life that they lived, because they didn't have meaningful relationships and they didn't have a meaningful network, and they didn't have people that they could build off of. So yeah, I think the looking in the eye is a big thing for sure. But more than anything, like, I know within a second if there's someone I can build a meaningful relationship with in a couple of minutes, right? Just by the way that they treat me and talk to me. And unfortunately, like, I don't have many people like that in my life, because there's not that many people out there that have that.
I'm not really
but it's a huge competitive advantage.
I'm not really convinced that's even a bad thing.
Yeah, I don't think it is.
I think it's healthy to have a smaller circle as you age.
100%. But your point on personal brand, I mean, that is spot on, because I mean that's how I built my law firm. I mean, I literally, I built it on me, not on my ability as a lawyer, but on who I am as a person. Yeah. And that's what has made us grow from, me being a solo practitioner, 2.5 years ago, and now we got 8 of us, and we're the second fastest growing law firm in the country. And it's just all because of personal brand. I mean, that's really it. It's just how you treat people and being real, right? Being a real person, being authentic.
It's almost like it's beyond that. To me, it's like I look at everything you just said about what you have done. Yeah. It really is, you are selling your philosophy, your life philosophy, and standing behind that. At the forefront of everything else. See, all the other stuff is there, but at the forefront is your philosophy on life.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
And I knew that. I knew that about you without ever meeting you. Yeah. Right? Because when you see someone that has that level of success, I'm not thinking to myself, he's an extraordinary lawyer. Yeah. You might be, but you have to have those other things to be able to build a strong culture. Yeah. To actually have, to be
a dynamic person enough to do those things.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
And you're same thing with in your business, right? I mean, you're building a gym. It's about people. There's a million gyms out there. Yep. But they choose yours for a 100%. Reason. And that's the same thing I say about there's a million business lawyers out there that can do what I do, but people choose our firm because of who we are, right? And the people I put in that firm and the culture we've created, and I look at brand as it's so important. Yeah. I've been very selective in who we bring in and how we treat people and the respect we give people, that it makes people want to be part of us.
Exactly.
And that's how you create this tribe of raving fans, just by being a decent human being and knowing what your own personal philosophy is.
So what you just described, though, is that difficult?
It is. It's not hard. It's not easy. It's not easy. Because you have to understand your personal philosophy. Most people don't take the time to do it.
Most people don't have a personal philosophy.
Right.
Number one.
Well, yeah.
Jim Rohn said that. That's the first thing I learned as a young person. No one has it.
True.
They don't understand it. They haven't defined it.
Correct. Yes. So
they can't write it out.
Yes. So once you do that, it makes it a lot easier. But I think that's a hard conversation, right? Because many people
with oneself,
absolutely. I think it's you have to understand who you are. Yeah, and what matters to you.
I must be wired differently, because to me that is not a hard conversation. That is not to be nice to people and to understand my tenets of decency is not really that hard of a conversation to have. And now, if it was a hard conversation, I would question the quality of human being. I must really be a fucked up human being if I have to question my tenets of decency.
Yeah. It's not questioning it's not questioning.
So what is defining
it? It's understanding yourself, right? you may be a kind person, but you have to really understand what that means. Like, just by saying you're kind and nice, like, what does that mean?
Okay.
Does that mean that I'm going to take shit from people? Does that mean I'm going to be a pushover? Mm-hmm. Or does that mean I'm going to have certain convictions I stand for?
See, I don't put those to connect. I don't
but they
connect
are.
being
They are
kind
connected. They are connected.
Are they?
This is what
Yes.
I think. Yeah, I believe so. Yes, because you have to understand when people say I'm kind and nice. Okay, what does that mean? Because you may catch me in a moment where I'm negotiating something. You may think I'm the biggest fucking asshole there is because of the way I'm handling a situation. That doesn't mean I'm not a nice and kind person.
I don't separate kindness from tactics,
but
strategy.
But look at the marketplace, right? Someone could come into that situation, not know me at all. And my personal philosophy is I'm a kind and decent human being. They may look at that situation like, that dude's a fucking dick.
Because that's their first, because they'll meet you through that particular interaction.
So I have to know what my own personal philosophy is and to be able to live that authentically in that moment. I think people, you can't just say I'm kind and nice. You have to know what that means. Like, I know I'm a nice person, but I know I will go to battle for my clients. And if I have to be a fucking monster, I'll be a monster.
But that's kindness to
that's
me. My loyalty is to my client.
Can you be a monster?
For my client, that's kindness. If it requires me to be a monster,
there's two
that's kindness to my client, of course.
It is, but is it kindness to the opposing party?
It's a transaction. My loyalties are my loyalties.
But what I'm saying is, I think you know where I'm going with.
I won't go slash their tire on it. I mean,
yeah.
I'll beat them up in the transaction. But then I'm not going to go out and slash their tires.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
Well, no, but I'm saying.
Go ahead.
No, what he's saying is this: is like, okay, there's personal, and then there's a tactic when you go to sell something or
There's
you
business.
get a demonstration. Yeah. So there's two sides: your personal and your business. Right? Okay. So when you are, like he's saying, a monster, you go after that person or whatever you need to get to that business or that goal. Right? The business side of you is a different side. The personal side is nice and calm and relaxed. But if you have to switch that gear, you know what I mean? You're
switching that gear because you're actually doing it out of kindness for the person you're working for.
So I think my business and personal is the same. So I don't change who I am or my philosophy. It's
applied differently.
It's applied differently.
Yeah.
But the reason why I say it's a hard conversation because you have to learn that about yourself. I had to learn the ability to switch certain things on and off.
Okay.
That's a hard conversation. It's a hard thing to learn about yourself. It's not the easiest thing to know about yourself when you can switch certain emotions on and off. I can be very cold and calculated if I have to be.
I just don't know why. Why is it hard to be honest with oneself about what you believe, the tenets of who you are as a person? Why do we struggle with that as a human being? I don't. I'm sorry, I'm not special. But I just don't. I have never viewed that. Now, maybe it's because I was enlightened with the idea at a younger age. So I've been wrestling with it maybe for 35 years now, and I write so much that maybe I'm so in tune with what I believe that maybe it's not. Maybe it's old hat to me because I've been dealing with it. And I've been devoting a lot of my life to analyzing myself. Maybe I don't know. It doesn't seem like a difficult process to me, though.
I think this is where emotional intelligence comes in a little bit because it's easy to be kind and nice all the time at the surface level, right?
Yes.
It's hard to be kind and nice when someone treats you a certain way that they shouldn't treat you, right?
Yes.
Or they're in the wrong.
Yeah.
And now I still have to come back and be a leader in my organization and explain to them that you're a dumb fuck.
Yeah.
And you're, like, not that way, right? But like, here's the situation, right? I had someone do this to me, right? They called me and they said, "Oh, you screwed up all my pricing and you did this," and they're like, mad about X, Y, and Z. And in that moment, my emotions were taken over. My ego was taking over. And I wanted to be like, you know what? Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
I'm done talking to you.
Yeah.
But I wasn't that, right? Because my value system is not that. My culture is not that. The gym is not that. The people I want to be around, right? So in that moment, I have to step back and say, okay, well, let's walk through it. And let me talk you through what happened and how it happened. And right. And at the end of it, I think this person actually felt like really bad about themselves, right? They felt about that big because they had realized that they called me, they projected all this shit onto me, and they were in the wrong the entire time. But I think, like, as you get into situations and you're working a lot with people on complex things, it gets trickier on how you treat people, how you show up for people, how that's where the rubber hits the road on your values coming out, right? Because it's easy for me to walk into a room and be like, hey, what's up, guys? You guys are all awesome. Like, that's me being nice. That's me being kind. But put us into like a 4-hour working together on a complex problem, and we have different viewpoints. And, you know, you're saying something that I think is implied towards me, and we're reading into each other the wrong way. And, you know, and that's when the emotions kick in, the ego kicks in. And I think that that's why they're really starting to preach a lot around emotional intelligence, because if I walk into a room and I disagree with something in the meeting, the person holding the meeting is going to be like, oh, like they're saying it's my fault, you know, and now we have a fight about ego. And no one's talking about the thing we're supposed to be talking about in the goddamn meeting, right?
Absolutely right. Yes.
And so that's why corporate America is getting so big on emotional intelligence, because people are reacting to the way people treat them, and now it's becoming a personality conflict.
They're coming in triggered, it seems like.
Right. Yeah. And you're spot on with the complexity. Like once you get into more complex situations with multiple personalities in a room, those are harder things to learn about yourself. Like how you react. Like, so you say you're a kind and nice person, right? That's your philosophy.
That's my default mechanism.
Right. Yes. Was it kind and nice to get pissed at the dude at Wendy's?
I can get pissed at him.
But was that a kind and nice way to react?
I think if I don't react to him and I keep it internally, I think it's harmless.
But when you say you're welcome, is that
snide? Yeah, maybe.
So that's what I'm saying. So that's
maybe.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's
I think
understanding your person to you. And maybe he heard it and was like, I feel like an asshole now.
Well, then that'd be a good thing. It's a learning experience.
Or maybe he's like, that dude's an asshole. But I'm saying, like, this is what I'm saying. I'm saying, like, your personal philosophy is it's this. But
good point.
Understanding how those things matter in different situations.
It's just good point. I just get sad when I see the erosion of, lack of a better phrase, niceties in society in general.
At the surface level, they're eroding. I mean, we don't even have people in complex situations, and they're shitty.
Well, we can't get there.
You're right.
Bingo.
Yeah. That's unfortunate. But again, for me, the silver lining is it's really easy to outperform these people.
Yes,
that's the competitive advantage.
It really is. I'm fine with the way the world is right now.
I learned that in the 80s as a young kid, because I was really working with people that are degreed, and I was the out. You know, like they're like, "How'd you get this job?" I got lucky. But I found a way to keep pace with them because I was just nicer than them. I hate to say that. Or I was willing to do the thing that the boss asked to do and stay the extra half hour or volunteer for something that no one else wanted to do. But that was an important lesson to learn, because the world was running off of, the world was running off of, even then probably, it was running off of, probably a greed first mentality.
Sure.
You know, the 80s, right? Greed is good. It was coined in the Wall Street movie. But I think that everybody seemed to be out for themselves. I think it was a little nicer then, generally speaking. But once I realized that just going out of my way to be nice, which was so easy, it wasn't taxing. That was a life lesson.
I think,
but it was easy though. Like, why?
Well, but I think this has always been part of the human condition. It's just more visible today.
That it's not happening?
No, I'm saying that there's always been people that are assholes. I don't think people were, a lot nicer back then, and now we're just. I just think we see the assholes more now, because there's more visibility into situations because of technology and social media. Like, I only knew when I was growing up, I only knew what I can see in my immediate family.
Right.
I couldn't go on the social media and see how people are being treated. I couldn't see people arguing and people being assholes. I couldn't see a person post about their experience at the Wendy's drive-thru. All I saw was my own viewpoint, my limited viewpoint. Now I can open my phone right now and see the viewpoint of 1 million people. Within 10 minutes, and I can see how the world is to those 1 million people. I think we just didn't see it back then. I think the human condition is the human condition.
And fear, anger, being shitty to people is easier. It's the default. And absolutely, my problem with mainstream news media, both political sides, is that they're creating a fear-based agenda.
1,000%.
And they're pushing anger out into the world. I got to my dad's house the other day. He has a bad back, lays in bed all day long. And unfortunately, I think it's unfortunate. He enjoys just watching the news all day long.
He's not alone.
It's like soap opera, man.
My dad's the nicest guy in the world. He is the nicest. He came out. He's fucking pissed, man. He's so mad at everything. And I'm like, Dad, what the fuck is wrong, man? And he's like, Chad, you don't understand. Like, God damn it, this thing's happening and this thing's happening. And I'm like, he's like, you don't understand because you don't watch the news. But fuck, man, we're all fucked. And I'm like, Dad, like, you just gotta quit watching the news.
Well, he was kind of shaking hand with the air.
Yeah, well, his dad sounds like my mom back in the 80s, like with Days of Our Lives. You know what I mean? Like, my mom would be like, you don't know what she did today. This person had dramatic this. And it's like, now you look at it and you look at politics, you're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, I guess
oh, shit. This is like MTV Cribs and shit. Like, fucking, they're showing this, and this. Like,
it's all day.
And the reality is they both have the same weight because, you know.
It don't matter which side you're on. Everybody wants to be in front of the fucking TV.
No, but I think just because it's politics, I'm not going to elevate it to be more important than that soap opera because to me, I'm putting it all on the same level. It's all like a cartoon to me.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
It shouldn't be.
No.
But
But that's what everybody's basing their life off of now.
When they, and this is part of our conversation, when the media or whatever that means, or when whenever the news services start using real life as entertainment,
that's what they're doing.
Well, it's like, why put an additional value on it? It's supposed to be so important because that's a reflection of what's really happening out there, supposedly.
Yeah.
But we can't put additional weight on it from like Duck Dynasty. Like we're looking at Duck Dynasty with the same validity that we're looking from the Tucker Carlson show or like the Lemon show on CNN, whatever. We're putting it the same weight.
Yeah.
Because it's just entertainment.
It's not journalism anymore.
No,
it's not.
Absolutely.
Rocco and I talked about this a month ago on one of our shows together. Where like 8 months ago, when Russia invaded Ukraine, if you had watched both networks, they both were saying it was like one of the greatest travesties that has ever happened on the planet. And from day to day, we didn't know if the planet was going to explode the next day.
Right. Yep.
It was nothing.
And here we are, and now they're only allowed to schedule the war on Tuesdays and Fridays. They only cover it on Tuesdays and Fridays because there's other news that has to take place during the week. It's like, so when we watch that, how can we possibly view it as anything but just entertainment on the same level as like
all it is.
as like a sitcom?
I don't take any news or anything like that, like fucking.
And because of that, where our reality to the casual observer, the reality gets switched. Does that contribute, do you think, to how poorly we interact with each other?
Yeah.
100%.
I mean, what you said. I mean, fear. Like those are easy emotions to trigger. Fear and uncertainty. So that's what the news does. The news is it's sensationalism. They sell ads. That's the whole point of the media companies, to sell ads. It's not about journalism anymore. So the easiest human emotions to trigger are fear and uncertainty. You can make me happy, like cool. Like you can make me joyous, cool. But if you trigger fear and uncertainty,
people are tuning in.
Because I need the answers. Like if it's a great story, like that's awesome. I feel good. I'll move on to the next thing.
Good point.
You make me afraid or uncertain. I'm just like, fuck. I need certainty.
You don't see
and the news is going to give me certainty. This media company is going to give me certainty.
How do we believe that though? Where did that come from?
It's the majority of people's mind. It's the average thinker. Not many people, in my experience, the majority of society think at an average level. I'm not saying that to be mean or a dick. It's just because there's certain
surface level thinking.
Right. So the emotion is triggered. It's like, okay, I need certainty. Where people that have succeeded in life or have a little bit of advanced thinking, they think through that, right? And they say, well, wait a minute, I don't believe this, and they want to find the information themselves. But I mean, look at the pandemic. There was a ticker, a death count ticker. Like. Think about that. Like, if you look back on that, what was the whole point of that? It was to instill fear and uncertainty in people.
Compliance. To instill fear for compliance purposes.
Whatever the purpose was, but the only point of putting a toll up of the amount of cases and deaths was to create fear and uncertainty. Because it doesn't matter for anything else.
Isn't it? That was an insidious move.
Why else would it matter, right? I don't need to know how many people died. They don't really to me.
Yeah, blow by blow.
Right. But that was just purely to create those two emotions, fear and uncertainty. That's it. Those are the human emotions that trigger people to tune in.
Yeah. And it's proven. I mean, there's documentaries that talk about
Yes.
the worst thing that ever happened to this society was mainstream media being a for-profit entity.
Yes.
The fact that they're allowed to make money in a for-profit fashion to do journalism
Fuck yeah.
is what ruined society. And I feel bad about saying that about my dad, but I think it's happening in a very large numbers. It's almost a brainwashing because you're only getting the fear and the anger, and that's all we see all the time. We don't see you see them occasionally, but you don't see the uplifting stuff. The people that are out there really lighting people's lives up and helping them, and so like everything becomes negative and cynical, right? Everyone's just mad about nothing. I watch people post shit and I'm like, oh, they just got done watching a 5-minute news segment, they got really angry about it, they basically summarized exactly what they just heard, put it out there, and they want to teach the world. That's the other thing. Everyone thinks that they're going to use a social medium to change people's minds. It's crazy to me. Right. It is crazy.
Yes, exactly.
It's never going to happen, right? You're not going to change someone's mind, but they just argue all day long. I don't know. I think it's a big part of why we don't see people being kind and nice as much, because we're being programmed to be mad and fearful.
Well, and think about just network television now. Like, I just thought about this about 2 weeks ago. I said, as a kid, there were a ton of sitcoms on that were just funny.
Yeah, they're just funny.
There's no agenda. Sanford and Son.
Count how many sitcoms there are now compared to crime dramas, like murder shows, fear-based television.
Housewives.
I mean, but that's when you think about it, right? It's purely drama. it's drama and fear.
Yeah.
Like I can't name
that's funny
5 sitcoms on TV now that are purely funny.
Just enjoyable, right?
And mindless comedy.
And comedy's under attack.
Exactly.
Right now. They're trying to stomp that out.
Yep.
Real quick, I just want to say this, and you guys can carry on, but with cartoons, right, it's the same thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All being political. Being political.
What do you mean?
What I mean?
Yeah.
Girls girls.
I haven't watched a cartoon in years.
Okay, yeah. My sons were watching a show one day. I walk in. I'm like, the hell's that? They're like, that's girl kissing girl. I'm like, oh, no. Yeah, we're not changing. We're going to, we're going to change that real quick.
Yeah.
And I told them, all right, go back and watch, like, the 80s, like, cartoons, like G.I. Joes and Transformers and Thundercats and all that stuff.
Right. Thundercats.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, go watch that stuff, because, like, even in the 80s, they had their own little views.
Is there violence in cartoons today?
Oh, it's crazy.
Like,
it's
because like the Three Stooges, they show the hammers.
No, they're like,
saws.
dude, they're like slicing necks and pulling out guts, and
but in cartoons,
yeah, man.
Interesting.
Yeah, man.
Video games.
Yeah.
They don't make video games about like people hugging people.
No,
it's like, absolutely
blow
not.
their head off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we live in a fear-based society.
Yeah.
That's
crazy.
really what it is. When you
Nobody
think about
wants, they didn't want anybody to think for themselves. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And it's crazy is that I can, like, back in the day when I was a kid, like I said, I have ADHD. They wanted to put me on, like, meds and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I was like, my parents were like, no, he's fine. He's okay. And now I'm building my own business, and I'm trying to teach my son the same thing, because he does the same thing with his hands, and he talks and whatnot. And they're trying to put, like, a little bit of, like, fear in him of, like, how he acts and whatnot. I'm like, dude, don't sweat that. You'll be all right. You know what I mean? You don't need anything. Just trust yourself. Calm yourself down when you need to think. Just think. Slow down. Look at what's coming at you. When you can actually see that perspective of, like, what's coming at you.
Would you agree that it's hard for a child now?
It is.
Because the inputs are all digital, and they're all like 24/7 practically.
Yeah, it is. And that's what I tell them, like, because I'm like, because
and
back in the day,
your children are about the same age as your daughters, I think, in terms of like
mine's 12 and 9.
I'm 13 and 9.
Yeah, there you
my
go.
daughters are 13 and 9.
So
yeah.
And and the problem is, like, every input has an agenda too. Like, that's the other thing. Like I think about, like, growing up, I had no idea the political affiliation of any of my teachers.
Right.
I had no idea what they no idea. Now my kids know the political affiliation of their teachers. if you are
They should
not. Like kids should be taught to think for themselves.
Yep.
To make I have a political philosophy. I'm not going to tell my daughters or my son how to think. Now they think similar to how I do. That could change, and that's for them to decide, right? As long as they are decent, kind human beings, they can have a different philosophy than me. But when you have the education system, in my kids knowing who their teachers support and don't support, like that shouldn't be fucking discussed.
Nope.
In school, it should not. It should not be discussed. I grew up. I had no idea. I can go back through every teacher I had from the time I was in kindergarten through law school.
Yeah.
I had no fucking idea what political bent they had. It was never discussed. It was never a topic.
So, okay, so I graduated high school in '83, and in the early '80s, I'm
old, man. I was 6.
So Reagan won in '80, which means he took office in '81.
He won twice, didn't he?
Yes, but his first term was in '81, and I grew up in Coraopolis. It was a very highly Democratic area. You very heavy union.
Yeah.
I had a Republican father and a Democratic mother. Just can imagine what the dinner table was like. I kind of sided with my dad because conservatism, like, logically made more sense to my brain, and I was kind of interested in it. So I got into a debate with my social studies teacher, who ended up being my favorite teacher, but very liberal, outwardly liberal person. She was in charge of the teachers union back then.
Okay.
I realized at a young age that there is a delineation here somewhere, because she walked into class after Reagan won in '81, in January of '81, when he took office, or maybe whatever it was, the fall of '80. Yeah. She walked into class and slammed her stuff on the desk and said, "Can you believe that? A B-rated actor is now the president of the United States."
That's bullshit.
And that was 1980 that happened.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got a sense early on.
They're testing the water.
But conversely, and Rocco and I have talked about this, the only time politics mattered to me as a child, or I would even be aware of it, is if, like, every 2 years, a local state rep or a local councilman, they'd bring a button. And they usually interrupt you eating your cereal and you're pissed off. You got to go, they come and ring the doorbell.
Yeah.
And they give you a button and you give it to your parents. And my parents would throw it in the trash.
Yeah.
That's the extent of what politics affected my being as a child.
Yep.
I'm convinced that is... The kids know way more about politics. They really don't know about politics. They just know of
They're
politics.
aware of politics a lot more.
Yes. My son was going to bond meet school across the street up here. It was 2009. President Obama had just won in the fall of 2008, taken office in 2009. February of 2009, there was an address. President Obama was going to address the school children. I don't know if you remember this or not. Big fucking hullabaloo there, right?
Okay.
It had never been done. In our modern... The president was going to address the school children, and they were gathering the kids and putting the president on closed-circuit televisions in the schools.
Okay.
I personally... Not that I voted for him, because I didn't. But I didn't think there was... he's the leader of the country.
Right, yeah.
And that's... Maybe there's some civic thing there. Half the country lost their fucking mind. You can go back and research this. February, I think it was, of 2009.
Yeah.
They lost their minds. Kids were being pulled out of classrooms and all this bullshit. It's at that moment I realized, before social media took hold, really took hold, that we're in like a strange time. You think my parents would have given a shit if Gerald Ford was given an address when I was in like the 3rd grade?
No. He told you to fuck off.
It
didn't make sense.
It didn't matter.
No.
We were, they're indoctrinating my kid. Your kid's in the 3rd grade and it's the president of the United States. I mean, why is that? Why was that political?
Yeah, to me that shouldn't have been, like, if that's
whoever it was insane.
Well, again, like, I have no problem with the president addressing, because you're the president of the free world, you're the president of the United States, and if you have something to say to kids that matters, absolutely you should. My problem is when teachers,
bingo,
start pushing their political philosophy on their classroom.
And that shit's happening.
Or making people feel like they don't matter as much because they have a different philosophy, or their parents have a different philosophy.
Well, they reflect their union often.
Yeah, and that's what frustrates me. Like, let kids think.
Yeah.
Let them...
They're not encouraging free thought.
No, not at all.
In a public arena, I should say.
No. And that's what's frustrating because, that's what's the next generation going to be like. If they don't get to think now, they're going to be fucking out of their mind lost.
I'm not saying that there wasn't valid fear that people, when they heard that Obama was going to address the nation, that some people that were really dialed in were convinced that they were going to try to brainwash their kids. I understand where people got that idea or could maybe reach to grab something like that, but it was kind of a sad commentary to me that we don't even have reverence for the office,
right? To
let our children hear from the new president of the United States, and the address was pretty damn good. He was talking about how I'm a man of color and I became the president of the United States. Anything is possible in sports. You can be an astronaut.
Right.
You can hear. There wasn't a tinge of, in my recollection, tinge of political misgiving in any way.
Yeah.
But we were just so triggered. And this is before social media took hold, man. I mean, it was coming. All right, before we wrap this up, we are going to be now in post-pandemic world, right? So I'm gonna, instead of just asking you the remedial question we've always talked about, okay, what do you think people were thinking, and are we all getting along? No. I want to ask you this. Fast forward 10 years from today. Granted, we don't know what's going to happen in 10 years, but let's just say another pandemic does not happen in the next 10 years. There could be all kinds of other shit. World War III, maybe. I don't know.
I was about to say that.
But let's just say there's no unrest. Let's say we're here 10 years from now. How are we as a society going to look back at 2020 and 2021? And how is society, what are some of the viewpoints that society is going to have on the behavior of our leadership and the public's reaction in this era? Or are we going to look back at all? Is there so much weird shit happening that we're not going to be able to look back because we're so astonished by all the nuttiness in front of us?
I think everybody's.
I mean, we're gonna look back and say we lost our fucking minds.
You think?
100%. We were washing. I'm
not saying we haven't.
We were
I'm
fucking washing our groceries. Like when you think back, like look back, people were washing their fucking groceries. Like we're gonna look back in 10 years and be like, okay, this was something. I get it, but we lost our fucking collective mind. Yeah. Like that's really. If you look back at all this shit we did. And we blindly listened. I would have had more respect for politicians if they would have said, we don't have a fucking clue. This is new. Bear with us. We're going to get a bunch of shit wrong. We're probably going to tell you to do stuff that's not going to make sense because we don't even know if it makes sense. We just don't know. Just try and bear with us. I would have said, okay, I get it. But now it was like, no, we got to do this. Now we got to do this. And they said it with such authority. They had no fucking clue. Like, look at the masks we were wearing. Like, people walking around with fucking... I remember going to the airport flying, and people had face shields on. I'm like, are you a fucking astronaut? Like, I remember...
What about the old gas mask?
There was a dude, when I came here, we flew to Florida during the pandemic, and he had a bubble helmet on in the airport. Yeah. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? It's not this, like, airborne disease that if you get, like, contagion, like, you hit it and you drop dead.
I saw somebody with, like, a hazmat suit on.
I mean, it's crazy.
I saw that shit.
I was like, come on, really?
Like, we were washing our groceries. Like, people were disinfecting packages, and they were coming in their house. I didn't do that shit. But it's just like, but there was a part where I'm like, okay, this is something. Like, we've got to, I was tuned into the news saying, what the fuck is going on? But we're going to look back and say, we lost our fucking collective mind. And it would be one point in my life where I will look back and say, we were a bunch of fucking sheep. That's truly what I believe, because we blindly followed like we were talking about yesterday. If it wasn't in the news segment, if you watch the hearings in the UK about the Pfizer vaccine, they basically said, we had no evidence that this stopped transmission. We just had to get something out there. They literally said that during a fucking hearing. No one's talking about that. So we just blindly followed whatever these people were telling us to do, and we're gonna look back and say we were fools.
So you think that the way history is going to write this, it's going to write the era, it's going to be basically a mistake.
Yeah.
I think, but I think there will also be people like, no, we had to do it. We had to follow the science. We had to follow, almighty Fauci. Like, there will be a part of society that believes that we did everything right and we didn't know any better and we had to do it. I mean, come on.
No, there was also a part of society, though, that, that was like, I don't want to do it, but I have to, because if I don't do it, I'm going to get fined. AKA him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
in his business, aka my business.
I was shut down.
All right, I was shut down. I was putting up a fucking fire escape. I had a state trooper come up to me and go, "Hello, sir. Do you have your structural license and your insurance for this? And you have the permit for it?" I'm like, "Yeah, here's everything. All right, I need the owner's information so I can contact him and make sure everything is on the up and up." I'm like, "I'm putting up a fucking fire escape. What the fuck do you want from me?"
Yeah.
He goes, "Well, I also need to have his permission saying that you can still be put this up." I'm done in 2 days. I have like 3 steps to put in. I'll be done. Just paint it. Bye. No. I'm like,
Yeah.
great, very cool. And I had to shut down for 4 days and get all this stuff straightened out, and there you go.
I think
It was awesome.
Well, I think the other part we'll look back on and say the government told us who matters and who doesn't.
Yeah, man.
There
That,
is.
that might be the big one.
That's the big one in my
That's-
mind. The government to say you matter, but you don't.
It was-
Everybody fucking matters. Like it was not the government's place to say you can work and you can't. That's fucking bullshit, in my opinion.
Well, they gave the big corporations can work. Small businesses.
right.
Well, yeah.
Bafangu,
Think about this.
bafangu.
Think about this. The local hardware store had to shut down, but Home Depot was open.
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
That's the
exactly-
big. That's the most egregious thing.
That's
really.
almost
Yeah.
like exactly when they started that whole horseshit when we're back in the 90s, early 90s, when they were testing out Walmart. You know what I mean? Remember that? Back in the day when Walmart was just coming out and then
Yep.
they were shutting down smaller businesses. Same fucking thing. Same fucking deal. Ooh.
That's right. That's right. I remember you couldn't. I mean, you couldn't do nothing.
Yeah, we were. We actually, silver lining. We did an outdoor workout that actually got us a ton of attention in the snow.
I remember.
I had this video that said like,
You had balls, man. It was
Dude,
cold.
that'd
Yeah.
have been fun.
They could,
Throw snowballs at each other while you're working out.
I think at the beginning I said they can make us lock our doors, but they'll never shut us down. So I'm like real cinematic.
I hope you had that video.
Oh yeah. It has like 20-some thousand views, and some people were like, "Oh man, this gym's awesome." When they reopen, I'm gonna come. And other people were like, "You guys are fucking nuts," but I love what you were doing. You know, it was pretty cool. But I think to answer your question, unfortunately, I think we are a nation that's very soon to forget everything. Like we don't have a really good mechanism for remembering the important pieces that have come out of some of these things. So think back to even 2001 with 9/11, right? There's I forget his name. It's just slipping my mind, but he's a recent Medal of Honor recipient, and he said, "I never want 9/11 to happen again, but I'll take the day after 9/11 any day of the
Most
week."
definitely.
Meaning
Most
the
definitely.
whole country coming together,
Yes.
right? And look how fast we divided from that because of
exactly.
because
exactly
of
right.
mainstream media. I'm fascinated with the financial collapse of 2008. Like that's something that I love talking about. What I've learned is not too many people like talking about it. One, because they don't understand what even happened. Two, they're just kind of pissed off about the whole thing. They don't know why they're pissed off, but they know that they lost a lot of money. And if they pulled out of the stock market, they took a huge loss. If they stayed in, they probably rebounded,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
A lot of people lost their houses. And no one really understands why. Some people do. But there was a ton of corruption happening, right? There was, and I understand regulation and deregulation and loosening up the economy, but the people that were pulling the strings, there was moral hazard. They were taking risk with American people's money. I don't think deregulation of the markets, the financial markets, is a bad thing. I think when people that are very greedy take advantage of that and do the things that they were doing, it is fucking corrupt.
Well, there wasn't mechanisms in place, especially in my industry, especially when it comes to financing and appraisals, to make sure that kind of crap didn't happen.
Right,
There was just a free for all.
Yeah, I remember I was doing an investment property and I was talking to the banker and he was talking about debt to income ratio, right? And I was like, so just I wasn't allowed to count my other rent income yet as income into the debt to income ratio.
Yeah.
Long story short, I said, so just make me understand. You're saying that I can afford these properties on my own without counting that income. And there's like, according to the regulations, yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're out of your mind. Like, if those people aren't paying me rent, I'm going to default on these mortgages, right?
They didn't
and
care
I was taking
because the
huge
commission of the product they were going to sell you at that time.
Nobody cared.
And a lot of sort of with the Community Reinvestment Act under Clinton, that's when a lot of this problem started. And then,
bingo.
With rental properties, I went through the same thing. Like I just graduated law school, bought our first investment properties.
Yeah.
They're like, we're going to give you 100% financing plus an additional $45,000 line of credit. I'm like, okay, no, never bought rental properties, but bought 3 of them.
Yeah,
like. Are you fucking kidding me?
Right.
On no tax returns. I had just started working. I hadn't even worked as a lawyer for a year. I didn't even have a tax return to give them.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, our banker just showed out the form for us.
Yeah.
1-page document, boom, money, closing table, line of credit, worst property I ever fucking bought.
Talk about an ass backwards system.
Yeah, that's how it was, man. That's exactly how it was.
That's my point. In I think some of the most corrupt things that have ever happened to the American people happened in the last 25 years, and we already have forgot, right?
Yeah,
we stopped talking about 2008.
Yeah,
like,
you're right.
Talks about
good
it.
point.
They're either sick of talking about
I see
it.
your point.
I
get your point.
I think in 10 years, you're either going to have people that are so sick of talking about what happened in COVID, or you just kind of go back, you remember a little bit, you have some arguments, disagreements, but at the end of the day, I think something else is going to happen.
Well, the aliens are coming. So when the Martians get here, guys, I appreciate this. Hope you all had a blast.
This was fun, man. Definitely.
Always. We will do it again.
Yeah,
most definitely.
All right. Thank you again.
Of course.
All right, friends. We're out.
Oh, my
Excellent fucking time.